Hey there. So I'm going to show you how to do my fun owl pattern. And I did a fun owl hat, and a lot of people have wanted to know how you do it in a flat panel. And so I thought it would be just easier to do a video to give them their answers. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a flat panel and work along, and I'm going to show you how you can make a blanket, a scarf, anything you want. You just have to make it wider or smaller, and you will be able to match the hat. And we need to work in even pegs, so find yourself even pegs, and then you need to find a way to mark your last two pegs, or remember that these two pegs will always be done in owl eye stitch. And then I've marked this peg because this peg will be done in owl eye stitch, or sometimes it will be done in the E-wrap in 2 stitch. So on one row we'll be wrapping it owl eye, on the other row we'll be wrapping it into the stitch pattern of the E-wrap in 2. Okay, so I've marked these like this, and then I've not marked, and then marked 2, not marked, marked 2, not marked. And what we'll be doing is we need to alternate when we do the E-wrap in 2. So on one pass, this will be an owl eye, and we'll just be E-wrapping the light colors together. And when we come back to do the alternating row, we'll be wrapping this one with a color that it doesn't match, this one with a color that doesn't match, this one with a color that doesn't match, this one with a color that doesn't match. And you don't even have to mark them, but I'm marking them so that you can easily see where my stitches are going in the video. Okay, now this is a 3/4 inch loom, and this is the loops and threads set that has the molded pegs, and it's the big one. It's the 41 peg loom. Okay, I'm just going to make a slip knot. Oh, and my yarn is Charisma. I don't know the color, so what I'm going to do is when I'm done the video, I will look up the color, and then I will post it on the page, and so you'll know what yarn I used. Okay, so I'm making a slip knot, and I just make a loop like that. So you see there's loop under, one on top. It's just a loop. And then I take the working yarn and push it through the loop. That's it, slip knot. It's the easiest way I've found to make one. And you can just tighten it on. Okay, and actually I don't think I'm going to leave, because we're going to hit the dark color, which if we do hit it, I'm not sure if we'll hit it or not. It'll be harder for you to see, so I want to make sure I have all the important stitches done in the light color that I can. So I'll just leave a shorter tail. Okay, and now we do the cast on. The cast on I'm going to do, it's a crochet cast on, a chain type, and you can do it with a crochet hook. It's pretty standard, but I do it with my hands. I do it from the front. I found when I do it from the back I can't make even stitches, so I always do this one from the front. But it's a pretty standard stitch. Probably invented at the time they first started crochet. Anyway, here we go. Go behind peg 2 with the loop, put the working yarn through it, and just tighten it up. And you can take this and make sure that this is nice and tight. You want these all to be tight so that your end of your project looks nice. I'm having trouble with my cell phone, keeps falling on my lap. Okay, 3rd peg, put this behind, tighten it up, loop behind, working yarn through, and tighten it up. Behind, working yarn through, tighten it up. There we go. And sometimes I go back and check to make sure they're the right tightness. I want them tight, but I want to be able to lift them over the peg, so these are just perfect. But if you had to adjust them, this would be the time to do it. Okay. Did you hear that? That was the sound of my cell phone falling. But I'll get it later. No biggie. Okay. You just keep doing this. There's a little gear at the bottom right of this channel, this video I mean. So if you click on it, it will give you options to slow down the video. So if you need to slow it down to see what I'm doing, that would be the way to do it. Okay, and then as you saw, I did the last loop. I just took it and put it over the last peg and pull it tight, and then I just flat wrap over it just like that, and then we're all secure. Now we're going to do a few rows of owl eye, and you just do as many as you want at the end before you start with the eyelets that are going to be the E-wrap in 2. I'm probably going to do only 3 rows. You can do more if you want, but like I said, I want to get some of this done before we get into the dark, in case it's hard to see. But you don't really need to see the pattern that much, because you will see it when you look at the fun fin hat anyway. It's the same pattern. Okay, so do owl eye. We're just going to go over the first and second peg here, like that. And then from behind, we're going to go over the next 2, and you keep it nice and loose. It'll be easier to knit, give you a nicer project, and we keep doing that just like that. So I'll slow it down so you can see we're at peg 1. We go in front of peg 1 and 2, knit them off. Working yarns here, so we call this peg 1, over peg 1 and 2, and see it's loose, knit it off, over peg 1 and 2, and if you need to loosen it up before you knit it off, just loosen it up. Well, if you're a tight knitter, easy to loosen it up. Go over peg 1 and 2, loosen it. So even if you're a tight knitter, there you go. That's how you loosen it. If you can't be loose, loosen it up after. You can always do owl eye nice and loose, not hard. There's a way to do it. And the reason for it is, for one thing, you're going to keep yourself from getting carpal tunnel as easy, or wrist injuries if you knit loose. But it makes it so much easier to just knit things over and to whip along if you're nice and loose. Okay, now on the last peg, I knit the 2 over. I come back and knit over, and these 2 end pegs are always going to be done the same, just like that. And then I'm ready for whatever we're going to do next. I'm going to do another row of owl eye. I got to have some foundation before I start the stitch. I'm just going to put you on pause, do a few rows of owl eye, do as many as you want to have a nice border before you start the eyelet pattern, and we'll catch up. Okay, so I've done 3 rows of owl eye. Normally I would have probably done 4 or 5, but this'll work. So we're going to start the pattern. Now we're going to do the E-wrap in 2. And the way that we're going to do that is our starter peg on the going to the left will be the green marker here right after the first 2 pegs. When we come back, we'll be wrapping the pegs that are the same color together. We'll be wrapping the 2 yellow markers together, the 2 pinks, the 2 yellow markers together, but that's coming back. Going there, we're going to be wrapping the green and the unmarked and the yellow and the unmarked, so they're going to be odd. So take the working yarn, go behind the green peg here, which is 1, 2, peg 3, and you wrap 3 and 4 together. Come back, wrap 5 and 6 together. And you want them loose, so pull it loose. If you're not really loose, pull it loose as you go. Keep them loose. It's like that, because it's going to make it much easier. And I am wrapping really loose. So you can wrap so loose like you feel like it's going to fall off, because believe me, they tighten up when you knit them over with this stitch. Okay, now we're on the last 2. So we're going to go over the first one in owl eye, just like that, and that will secure the work. And I'm even going to do the stitch coming back and the extra one for knitting that over. So we do owl eye, but instead of going over that, just go like that, and I'm just going to leave it sitting there all nice and secure, and we're just going to knit these over. And they're real easy to knit over if you've left them nice and loose. Okay, the pattern is 3 rows of owl eye, 2 rows of E-wrap in 2, 3 rows of owl eye, 2 rows of E-wrap in 2. Okay, so they're all knitted over. Now, when we're doing the hat, we don't care about these long strings that are left behind because they're under the hat. They're not going to bother you. But in a flat panel, you do not want these long strings, and they're long. Look at how long that string is. They're long. So you look for the long, long strings. The first long string isn't that long. It's not too bad, so you can leave it if you want, but I'm just going to plop it over. So I'm going to plop it over the peg. So take a look. I'm taking this long, long, long string, plopping it over. And what that's going to do when we knit it over is shorten it, so it can only be that long now. That will look a lot better. I go over to the next long stitch and I put it over this peg. So I skip a peg, put it over the next peg. We alternate them. Skip that peg, put it over the next one. Skip that peg, put the big long yarn over the next one. Skip that peg, put it over the next one. Skip that peg, put this one over the next one. And the one on this end is just super, super short. I'm just going to leave it. Okay, so they're just there. Now this makes it a little tighter to knit it over, so it's really important to keep everything nice and loose. Okay, now when we go back this way, we're going to do it different because now these two will be together. These two, this is where we alternate it. So this peg can be wrapped in owl eye stitch. So we just wrap it and hold that there, wrap it again, and then we can start the pattern. Okay, so these have all been done. Now we're going to wrap the two like ones together in the E-wrap. So we come behind and wrap them. So the two pink pegs are wrapped together, the two yellow pegs are wrapped together. I'll put this down so you can see better. The two pink pegs are wrapped together, and we want to keep this nice and loose. Remember, nice and loose. Two yellow pegs, two pink pegs. And make sure they're loose, because if you come back to do the owl eye after, you're going to find it's really tight. Okay, so now we have that green peg, and it gets an owl eye wrap. So we do a U-wrap over it, and we take both of the loops, put it over, and we can owl eye to the end of the row now. And then I'm just going to come back like I like to do. I can just leave it hanging here, and I know there's only one wrap on there. Okay, and now we just knit them over. I'm taking the two bottom ones over. Those are the ones that we lifted up before. We take the two bottom ones over the top. It might be a little tight here and there, but that's okay. Those two bottom ones over the top. There. It's a little hard. See, that's why you need to be loose. I mean, you can leave the long strings in the back if you want, but on a flat panel, they're not very nice. So see, this is what's happened now. There's our eyelets coming for the Fun Owl pattern. See, here's the eyelets. You can get this close so you can see it. Eyelets, eyelets. There we go, there's the light on. Eyelets, eyelets, eyelets. There. Put the loom like this. Hard to get this big loom close to me. Okay. There's the eyelets. Here's my finger under the eyelets. So it makes a really nice kind of an eyelet doing this E-wrap in two stitch without having to move any pegs. And if we look at this here, our strings are long again, so we have to lift them over again. So we come back and find them. We went the other way, so this one is not very long, this one is, so we're going to plop this one over and then this one over, missing one. Just plop them over every two. There's another big long one, and they're hard to see in black, I know, but I mean, I can see them, but I mean, they're huge, they're really long, going from here to here. See how long that is? It goes from here to here. That's why you don't want to leave them hanging. Just plop it over. There. And there's our eyelets, and these are plopped over, and you don't see any loose stitches anymore. Okay, now we do owl eye for 3 rows. So we go right into the owl eye stitch. Just like that, and you're going to have the 2 stitches to go over. They're always a little tighter to take over, but it keeps it nice and clean in the back. So that's why you want to do it. Now you can, if you find it too hard for both, you can just go 1 and then 2. That's easy. You don't have to knit them over at the same time. So let's do that the rest of the way, because that'll make it easy for you. If you've gotten too tight, just take 1 over and then the next one over. Just the same. Makes it easy. Okay, birdies, be patient. My video's almost done. My birdies think they should get some attention right now. I have 2 parrots, Myers and a red belly. They're both Poicephalus parrots, and that's what you're always hearing in the background. Usually they just make cute little chirps, but for some reason they think they want attention. So I'm going to, at the, oopsie, that slipped off. At the end of this row, I'm just going to pause the video till you can catch up to me, and you do a total of 3 rows of owl eye, and then we're ready to do the E-wrap in 2 again. Okay, so I'll just meet you up here when we're ready to do the E-wrap in 2. Okay, so here I am, and I've done my 3 rows of owl eye. So here's our eyelets, and then there's 3 rows of owl eye, and we're ready to do our next eyelets. I don't know if I should even call them eyelets. That's not the traditional way of doing eyelets, but they are holes that look like eyelets. So there you go. It's another way to make eyelets. Okay. Now what we did was, when we went this way, we wrapped that peg in and did the 2 peg pairs like that. But when we go this way, we're wrapping the colors, and it's best to keep the same system so you don't get confused. So when we're going this way, we're always wrapping like. And when we go this way, we're always wrapping the unlike. So this one is going to be owl eye stitch. Like that. Okay, and now we wrap the like peg pairs. And again, keep them loose. So go back and make them loose. Make them so loose that they're almost falling off. Okay? Important, because they really do tighten up. Keep them nice and loose, and you can even go back after and loosen them up. You start by loosening here, and then you can loosen as you go along, loosen that more, loosen as you go along. You can't really have them too loose unless they're falling off on you. Then they're too loose. Okay, and we're going to do this in owl eye. Just like that. And come back, and I always do this. I like to have this left really secure and know that I'm already heading back that way after I'm done. Okay, and we just knit them over. Okay, there they are. And then you're going to go back, get the long strings. They're easy to find. They go really far across, and put them over. They're really long. 1, 2, 3, 4 pegs long string. That's long. So you really don't want to leave those hanging there. You just put them all over to keep it nice and neat at the back. And when you come to the last one, it may not be very long, so you can just leave it. And if you take a really close look here, I'll get really close because we're black, so you don't see any long strings. The longest string would be something like this because we shortened it. I can barely get my finger in there. See, there it is. Very short. When we get through the black and onto the other color, you'll be able to see better where they are. And so that'll be good. I wanted to do this color for this video because I needed to make a matching scarf for a hat in this color. So since I had to show this video, I thought that I would just go ahead and do the fun one and show you how to do it. Okay, so now we're coming back. We've got all these on. We're going to do the E-wrap in 2 by going over the odd ones. Okay, so I finished my owl eye here. Always get 2 stitches with the owl eye on there. Okay, now we're going to wrap peg 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 again. And keeping it really, really loose. Go back if you need to and just loosen these all up. Want them so loose that they're almost falling off. Really, really, really loose. And then we get back to the 2 pegs at the end, go over, do the owl eye, there we go, doing the owl eye and back, and I'm going to leave this here and knit these over. Okay, now when you come to knit them over, you're going to find these pegs. So let's just take them over one at a time so they're easy. But if you're loose enough, then they just go over together like that. Just go over, but if you're a little bit tight, you can put them over like this, one at a time, to make it easy. I'm going to put the 2 over there and all over. There we go. Now we do 3 rows of owl eye, and this has all been made tighter. We have another eyelet coming in the pattern, and owl eye is nice and loose, so it looks really lacy alongside it. So I'm going to go up ahead for a little ways until I hit a lighter color. We'll catch up and take a look at it, and okay, we'll see you in a few. Okay, so I got further along and I'm where the color's light, and I've just done a E-wrap in 2, so now I stopped here so you can see these strings on the lighter background and how long they are really well. And this one is shorter, so I'm not going to bother about it, but I'm going to definitely take this really big one and put it over. And then go to the next really long one here and put it over. I can actually do it with my fingers a lot faster. There we go. Whoop, that went over too. And there they are. They're cleaned up. And then, so I was just going to show you the difference. Here, where I cleaned it up, these are a lot shorter, so they're not too bad at all. See here in the blue? They're all shorter, so they're just little short strings now. Nothing that's going to catch or anything. This is them. Shorter strings. And then what I did is I left this here, so you're going to see this sticking up. I left this so you could see the difference. If I hadn't, you would end up with these really, really long strings here. Just like that. I'll clean those up later, but I just wanted to show you the difference. That if you clean them up, you don't have any really long strings hanging here. They're cleaned up. And then you can see the pattern better. So here's where I'm starting the eyelets here. And here's the last row. and the owl eye in between, and that's what the pattern looks like. But I'm just going to go a little bit further along and look at it because we're in a nice light color where you can see it better. Okay, so I finished the second E-wrap in 2 to get the eyelet. So here's the eyelets, they're pulled tight. And then I just do my 3 rows of owl eye, and so there's your pattern. It's hard to see on the black, but there's your pattern down there. I'll put my fingers there, you can see better. There they are. And there you go. So that's how you do it, and get a much cleaner look. Actually, it is actually cleaner than there. It looks like I might have missed a couple here and like that or something because it's tighter as I was rushing along. But here's where I completely didn't do it, and you got the loose strings. So you can decide whether you want those loose strings or you want to tighten them up. And so here's your stitch. Whoops, pretty tight on there. I'll put it like this so you can see it better. There it is. And we're going to look at the edge where we can see it better. Here you go. There's the, I'll get this close. There's the kind of braided look right there. And on the other side. Oh, here you can see this better light, but you get a kind of a braided effect there. And then there's our end with the cast on that we did. So that looks really nice too. And there's the start of it. And you can't really see the pattern really well until you you get into the lighter, but there it is. Really pretty pattern. And okay, so there's how you do it. And people were waiting for this video, so I'm not going to end this. I'll be working on it off and on while I'm doing other projects, and I'm just going to release it as is. So what I'm going to do is I have a bind off that I used, and I can edit that onto the end, and that's the bind off that I would use with this that matches this cast off. So I will just have a video on there of how to do the bind off on the end, and you can do any kind of flat panel you want, cleaning up or not cleaning up, and that's how you do it. So I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next time. So now we will be binding off. So what we do is we just measure 1, go down there, we come back 2 because we want to be long enough, and then they say, most people say do it about 3 times, so I'm going to do it close to 3 times. And I'm just going to put you on pause because I have to find a scissors and a needle. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to cut it right here. There we go, and I have my needle. I'm threading the needle. Okay, and I'm just going to give this a little tug here so it's not too loose. And then I'm going to come over here. And I'm going to go down. So I'm going to go inside this loop on this peg and put the working yarn through it. And snug it up. And then I'm going to go back up the first peg. Okay, snug it up a bit, and I'm going to go around the second peg and in front of it, and then I'm going to go down this peg and then up the second peg, snugging it up as I go, and then around the between the two pegs and around the front. So basically that's all we're going to be doing, is we're going to be going down the peg in front, back to the peg we had done before, and then going around. So down the peg and around and up the peg. And around, and then down the next peg, up the peg before. We'll just get this close right now, and we're always pulling it tight, and then between the two pegs we just did, around, and then we'll be going down this next peg, making sure the working yarn doesn't get all hung up the peg before, and around, tightening it as I go, down, up, and around. Down, and then up and around, and then down the last one. Whoop, and the needle came out. So we better redo the needle. Okay, and then up, and there we've gone through every peg. So we're just going to go back down the first one like that, and I'm going to come down it again like that. There, just to secure it more, and then you'll just be weaving in your end. So now you can take it off the loom. Okay.